Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Automation, the car company tycoon game. Today we're going to continue on building the new Intrigue for 1980, and then we'll move on and do some more things with the Intrigue for maybe 81 and 82. I got some big ideas and some big plans, but first we need to finish up the 80 model, the original of the third generation Intrigue here. Just some tidying up to do. One thing that I forgot to do and have often forgotten to do is to update the engine to the correct year. So I just took the 1977 engine that we built and put it straight into the car without taking into account 3 years of development on it and development of technology and all that fun stuff. So that's an easy enough fix. We'll take a look at the statistics as we do this. Much clunking and much clicking, but we made the results. We got there. I didn't see the changes as they happened in the engine tab, but if we look here in the full car tab, we can see that we picked up a few points of miles per gallon, a few decimal points, and dropped a little weight in the engine, picked up some horsepower, all that good stuff, all good things. Let's also do that to the Eco one, though. Alright, nice. In doing that to the Eco, we picked up almost a full mile per gallon, about half a mile per gallon, up to 28.4. Drivability and sportiness came up, so all good things there. Thanks for the tip, thanks for the reminder. We needed those 3 years of development on those engines to really bring it up to spec. This one actually got heavier, but overall it was an improvement, so that's a good thing. So I hinted last time that there was more I wanted to do with this Intrigue platform. I feel as though we need to expand its horizons a little. It's a nice entry-level sports coupe for the early 80s, and it's going to serve quite a purpose, but there is more we can do with it, and one thing I really want to do with it is make a little sport truck or ute, or really in the early 80s, mid 80s, there was a thing going on in the States called the chicken tax, and it created a lot, well, not a lot, but it created a few of these car-based trucks to try and compete with the small truck market and get around this whole import tax thing. We are an American car company. We don't need to go this weird route to make a small pickup truck, but I still want to, because I think they're cool, and it may not be something we do a lot of production on, but I just want to put the option out there. It shouldn't be too expensive, and we should be able to reuse a lot of parts from this car, so let's give it a try. Ute's not a term that ever caught on here in the States, speaking even to now, really. It's just not a term that made it over here, and vehicles were never referred to as that. I'm going to try and change the history now, and we're going to call this the Intrigue Ute. Obviously, to do that, we need to go to the chassis tab, or actually just this tab, the car body type tab, whatever it is, and choose this guy right here. That is something that I would buy. That is, I mean, I don't think I even need to do any body mods. We'll see what options there are. There's basically no bed, but it's more space than you would have in the trunk of a normal coupe. You could do a little bit more with it. We can actually extend that bed out a little bit. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, that's a little bit more usable, and it actually does help it proportionally a bit too. So that's neat. I like that a lot. Fixture-wise, I don't think there's much I want or need to do with it. I'm quite pleased with that. What's a good color for it? I heard that the green wasn't working for this body. I saw rumors of that. The dark blue, darkish gray, charcoal kind of color. We'll go with that. It's like a charcoaly green. It sounds good. I'm going to keep it rear-wheel drive, no 4x4, nothing like that. It's not that kind of truck. Looks like that old V6 that we had would fit. I wonder what it would do in a modern year. So let's do a new variant on that, V6. And we'll call it the I'm so bad at naming things. The Vuter. It's the Vuter. because why not? And let me click this button a few times here and listen to it make the gear crunchy sounds. So just a quick, easy build on it. 137 horsepower, 155 foot-pounds of torque, nice flat torque curve, a little bit of a top-heavy power curve. Looks like we're getting limited in the airflow department, so let's look at different carb options. Perhaps twin singles. That's a 213 max. Yeah, that seems to be a little bit better. It would be running rich with that. We can bring that down, though. And then we're having knock issues when we do that. Well, that's okay. We can change the cam profile a little and drop a little compression. Good to go. And how does that compare as far as the economy? About the same, really. But 157, 151. I do like that torque curve. It serves the purpose. And 157 is fine for a vehicle this small. It's that's actually going to be quite the sporty little thing, considering how little weight's in the back and just how little weight the car has in general. A little bit strange that we would have a unique engine just for this vehicle, but it's not really a unique engine. It's something we had sitting around anyway, and who knows, maybe the sport buyers will be interested in this because it has that hot engine, and it'll make this lower production vehicle even more tempting for buyers. Let's see what it looks like in the trim. So I am well aware that the categories that this vehicle are going to fall in the game sense, are going to be totally bogus and nowhere representative of the vehicle, because this is a very strange vehicle that there's nothing to compare it to. So it's going to be in, you know, the pony and sport kind of categories, even though that's not necessarily what we're marketing towards. That's all the game knows to compare it to, so we will forgive it for that and just tune it to, you know, the general idea of what I wanted it to be. And for that, I put a 14-inch wheel on there with a little bit larger tire for that utility purpose. Just a medium compound. Tune in, good amounts of understeer, nothing extraordinary there. We do need to give it more front brake, it does appear. I don't think I give it any size increase at all. It's better, but we might need some two pistons up front, and maybe just a little bit less on the rotor, and then just a little bit more rear drum. And then that's a nice compromise there. Good setup, cheap, light, and efficient. Just for the sake of, again, the theme of the build, we're going to give it an off-road skid tray. It is just rear-wheel drive, but, you know, that skid pan is nice. Keep that oil pan in one piece. If you got to go a little bit off-road or through some weird roads, crossing ditches, whatever you're going to do with a vehicle like this, odds are probably just drive around the street and look cool. But we'll give people the option. Standard interior with a bench seat in the front, 3 seats, standard safety, and we'll give it power steering as a factory option. And then in the suspension department, this all looks good, but we need to tune the dampeners to match the engine weight. So that is good there. Alright, so it weighs a little bit more than do the coupe versions of the car, but it has a little bit punchier of a motor. I expect this to be the fastest Intrigue-based vehicle that we currently have built, so really putting the sport in the sport truck, and I think that's cool. I think that's a nice, small, niche vehicle. You know, it's not going to sell a ton of them, but that's something that nobody else would be offering at the time, and I think might actually be quite a hit. I'm curious. Yeah, 8.3 to 60? Nice! That's really good. I mean, by today's standards, that doesn't sound great, but by 1980s standards, that's freaking phenomenal. 16.2 on the quarter. This would be a fun little, somewhat utility-based vehicle, and I think it's pretty cool. I would own this. Obviously, like I said, the categories are all weird, but it's doing well in sport budget, which isn't that far-fetched. You know, your El Camino buyers were not buying El Caminos because they thought it was a good truck. They wanted to have fun. They wanted a fun, somewhat muscle car that they could put stuff in, that they could carry their tools in and stuff like that. Same effect here, on a smaller scale, and more towards the sport budget kind of mindset instead of the muscle. I like it. I'm pleased with that. It looks cool. I would own it. I want to buy it. I want somebody to build this. Go back to 1980 and build this. because that is the kind of vehicle I would want. I know the Subaru Brat is kind of similar, but it's a little bit quirkier, a lot slower. So this is somewhere in between the Brat and the El Camino. So there's one more fun avenue I want to take with this Intrigue, this generation of an Intrigue. I know a lot of people kind of suggested this and mentioned it in the comments of the previous video. Trust me, I was already thinking about it. You know how much Dirt Rally I play anymore, and how much I enjoy the kind of 80s rally spirit. So let's try and do ourselves our own Group B special Intrigue. We'll call it the Rally B. We'll put the year to 1982 to say that we're building it for 1982, because that's really when the true Group B era began. Actually, we're going to go to 1983, because I would like to make it all-wheel drive. That is something that I think is pivotal to the success of this vehicle. Although all-wheel drive did not really take over until 83, 84. It was actually legal in Group B before people adopted it because it was considered to be too complicated and too... I mean, it was a very new technology, so rear-wheel drive started out as the norm for Group B. But we're going to try and make this sucker all-wheel drive because we want to have as much fun as possible. I'm going to start with the obvious thing to do and work on styling it out to be Group B-ish. Alright, so that's a start. We got the all-wheel drive, we rallied it up in looks, added lips for downforce, got some vents for brake cooling and whatnot, some hood relief vents and stuff like that going on. That's a good start, but now the interesting part is going to be making an engine for this. That's going to be pretty experimental. We're not going to restrict ourselves very much at all. Let's go up to 83. We're not going to restrict ourselves at all in, like, budget for engineering and stuff like that, but we do have a rule book to follow. There is distinct rules as to the type of engine you can put in the car based on the size of the chassis, based on the size of the tire you want to use, and all sorts of stuff like that. So let's look here at the chassis tab first, because I need to see some things. So the current weight of the vehicle is 2,085 pounds. I'm gonna need to get my calculator out. All this stuff is in kilograms. So this car in its current configuration, with just the regular engine, weighs in at 945 kilograms, which would put it in the max weight of 960 kilogram class, which would be a 3000 cc cap for NA and a 2142 cc cap for turbocharged displacement. That is really not that big of a difference, is it? So to put a 3000 cc NA in there would be pretty difficult to match the performance that you could get out of a 2.1 liter turbo engine, is it not? I think it is. So that's probably the route I'm going to look at taking. We have to keep an eye on the weight because we do have to keep it under 960 kilograms. We'll see what we can do there. There's a lot of stuff to go with that engine, so there's a lot of weight to be added. So our original 4-cylinder engine would be a little too low in displacement. The max capacity it has is 1.5 liters. We need to take it up to about 2.1 liters, or 2 liters really, to make it good for this class. So I'm not sure we're going to use anything based on that one. So 2.1 liters. The V6 seems to be a good fit for that because we could try twin turbos on it. Twin turbos, obviously there's twice as much going on, twice as much to go wrong, but we can make them smaller and let that boost hit sooner, which seems like it's a little bit different than what we see our rally competitors doing. So I'm going to try it. I don't know if we'll stick with it or not, but we'll give it a try. Obviously I'm going to want to do dual overhead cam. Let's do 4 valves per cylinder. Let's do aluminum block and aluminum heads. This thing's going to be super experimental. I'll start with a normal bottom end. Nothing too crazy. I actually should make this thing just about to the limit. So we'll do up to 2.1. Then we can bring it down in varying capacity if we need to. I don't think weight's going to be a problem with that block. The aluminum block's going to save so much weight versus the iron blocked 4 that we're probably not even gaining too much weight. The turbo stuff is what's going to gain the weight. Let's bring the compression down pretty far. Let's get those cams a-screaming. Twin turbos. Have I ever built a twin-turbo V6 in this game? I don't remember that I have. This might be the first, and we're doing it in the 80s. That'll be fun. Getting this thing tuned's gonna be just loads of fun. Let's do water-to-air medium on the intercooler. I don't trust the air-to-air large at this point. We'll see. Looks like it's still fitting. I was a little worried about the size of it once we put those turbos on there, but it looks like it's still fitting. We do not have electronic fuel injection just yet, but we will increase the year to 83. But when we increase the year to 83, electronic fuel injection. Thank the Lord. That's what we've been waiting for. There we go. Injectors on each cylinder. This thing's almost like a modern engine now. Okay, so let's do twin intakes. Is that necessary? 453, 226, probably necessary. Max power and throttle per cylinder though, 1600. I don't think we're gonna need quite that much. I'll keep an eye on it though, you never know. The biggest restriction we have is the fuel. This is the homologation special car. We don't need to make the 700, 800 horsepower number with this engine. This is just the one that goes in a street car. But this is the engine that would be in the race car, running race fuel and making those big power numbers. I don't think we need to go crazy with the rev limit, the RPM limit. These turbo cars, especially 80s turbo cars, not really revers. Okay, so first build pass of this engine, about 2.1 liters, twin turbo. Running 11 pounds of boost, normal setup, we haven't tuned anything, absolutely no tuning has been done on it. What's your guess on the power number? We also have it feeding into a single exhaust, probably not the way it's going to go, it'll be dual exhaust. Let's see, I'm thinking, I would hope in the 300s would be nice. 249. Okay, so there is work to be done. Not as much red as I expected. I expected to see a lot of red and badness over here. So that's pretty good. That means there's a lot of potential left in this thing, which is good. I mean, I would hope so. Dual exhaust. Let's do dual exhausts, and we don't need as big of exhaust then. The 2 1/4 should be fine. And then let's see here. It's 249. But there's still a lot left to do. How is the octane looking? That's going to be the biggest key. We're only at 85.6, but we only go up to 86.5, so there's not too much wiggle room there. The biggest thing with this engine is going to be finding the right balance in the turbos setup, because we need them to be small enough that they spool way earlier than they are right now. Currently, they're only coming on at like 5,500. Yikes, that's not a great point. 5,400 is where it's coming on. Yeah, that might be a little bit too late. So we got it back to about 4,100 where it's hitting full boost. That's better. The torque curve and power curve look better, but we're still not quite making the numbers that make me happy. We're going to have to quality up everything in here, I believe. 287, 218, we're getting somewhere, and the power curves are starting to look somewhat normal for a turbo engine, especially of the era. So it comes on now a little bit after 4. It's still quite a transition there. That would be scary. You know, you're hitting that transition mid-turn. It's gonna wake you up. That's for sure. Now this is again the street version of the car. 287 though, still short of what I would like to see. Interestingly, the max fuel ratio on this says it's 12.25. Perhaps through the quality improvements or through the fact that it is turbo, something is letting me go beyond that. I'm not quite sure what, and it is not running rich. In fact, it's not running rich till we get up towards like the 11.4 ratio. So we can run this thing with a lot of fuel in there. It's going to murder the economy, but we do not care in the least, because now we have a lot more fuel octane available, which means we can throw a lot more boost at it, which means we're going to be a lot happier. Just how much can we throw at it, though? Let's see. Can we hit 18? Are we going to hit 18? 18? Not 19, but 18 pounds of boost. 314 horsepower, 259 foot-pounds of torque. That's pretty good, and we still have more to do. Alright, we got back into the range where we're hitting pretty late. You know, there's still no power till like 5 now. 5, you want to keep it from 5 to redline. 5 to redline's only, what, 2200 RPM right now? So let's see if we can get a little bit more redline out of it without exploding. We can. The pistons are starting to get to be a little unhappy, so are the rods. But overall, it's doing okay. It's not destroying itself. I just wanted to check on some things, see if everything's still in line. Well, we're making good power, 332. I'm happy with that. 256 foot-pounds of torque. Revving up to 7,600 RPM. 7.46 economy. That's pretty good, right? No, that's abysmal. The miles per gallon of this thing are just going to be ridiculously bad. Now, if you kept it below 5, you'd probably get 25 miles to gallon still. So, you know, that's fine and dandy. Let's just roll with it as it is right now and see what we have. Engine has inefficient cooling to be reliable. That does not surprise me. Let's get it up to a good level. There we go. And we're going to want some on the brakes too. So we'll go ahead and put that in there, knowing that we're going to do it. First build shows we are at 2498. Let me put that in the old calculator. 2498 is 1,133 kilograms. So much too heavy. So just doing some things like removing the fancy interior stuff, we need to get down to 2,116 pounds. 2,116 pounds. That's maybe doable. We'll see. I like to keep this engine, and I don't want to punch it out to be a bigger one because it's not going to fit. So I got to make it work somehow. So here's one way we can shed a lot of weight, and that is to go from a steel panel material to maybe fiberglass, maybe aluminum. What's the difference here? Is there a stiffness in chassis change, safety prestige, weight, production units? Not really. I don't see anything else. It is lighter. No, it's heavier, actually. But less production units. What's the advantage to the aluminum, then? Engineering time, tooling cost. Nope, we're going to go fiberglass, then. That's an easy choice. That should get us down pretty low. Oh, yeah, we're good. We are in the clear now. We are under the weight, so we can actually increase the weight a little bit. I think that is the minimum weight of it. Obviously, we're going to want a 5-gear box. Look at these. This car's terrible, as the game is saying. All right, top speed's going to need to be increased. We will do such a thing. Don't want too much overdrive, but a little bit is fine. We have geared LSD for the first time ever. Let's use it. Currently, the distribution is 100 front, 0 rear. I don't think that's the way we want to go with it. Just a gut instinct. Probably want it to be more rear-based than front-based, so maybe a 40-60. That seems like it's a good way to go. There we go. Now it's a little happier. And I'll work on the spacing later, but probably need more first gear. In the tire department, for this one, we'll do a sports compound tire. I already chose magnesium to try and shed some weight. We'll keep that for now, but because we're going to need very large tires, there is tire rules in play, and we'll try to keep that in mind here. So the front plus rear tire you can't have like anything more than a 10 and a 12 setup is basically what I'm reading that as. So 10s in the fronts, 12s in the rears, or something of that order. That's a very large wheel. I'm hoping, and I assume that it's not total, because 22-inch total all the way around, that would be a little hard to do. You know, the widest you could do is a 5.5 front and rear. It's not impossible, but seems rather improbable considering the size of the tires that those cars were using. Alright, well, I spent some time trying to get clarity on that rule. Couldn't really find anything, and since we're not necessarily doing the actual going to compete car, we're just going to go for what seems like a decently sized tire for the car. and we'll worry about the actual rules later. Maybe somebody out there can clarify that for me. I would think it's just the combination of one front wheel and one rear wheel, not all four, because the combination of all four would mean you'd have like a 5.5-inch wheel width maximum for this car. That doesn't seem like enough. Granted, in game you can't actually change the width of the wheel anyway, so it doesn't matter. But, you know, I was just looking for some clarity on that and trying to stick to the theme. But we'll move on beyond that. I put 225s front and rear for now because that's what fit. And it looks cool. And it's going to look even cooler because these showed up in the workshop like yesterday. And couldn't have been a better time. Rally wheels. Yes. Perfect. Gave her a little bit of offset in the rear to fill out the wheel wells, but that really completes the look of the car, doesn't it? It's quite rally looking now. I am pleased, but how it looks, not necessarily what's really important here. I need to see how it goes, so we got to finish this thing out. Vented discs this time around, front and rear. I don't think we'll need too much more in the way of brakes. It's actually performing quite well already. And they are cooled. We got some vents on them now. We will increase quality a little bit. On the car, we will do the off-road skid pan on it. But I'm actually going to do it semi-clad style. So we'll just pretend it's combining the best of the two. And then the cooling airflow, everything here is good. We do have some aero to work with. We have front downforce right now, but nothing in the rear. So let's bring that up and then bring the front down a little just to get rid of the lift more than anything. And we'll find a nice balance there. So in the suspension department, we're going to go from a sports setup to a race setup. We'll still have to make the same changes as always as far as the dampening goes. Pretty light engine up front. It's gripping right now. It is very, very grippy and it does exactly what you would want it to do. Perhaps a little too much understeer, but we don't want to go too crazy the other way either. All right, and thanks to Spooky Squid, I pinged the Conelanders chat people to see if anybody knew anything about the tire rule. It is just one side of the vehicle, so we would definitely be able to run these 225s and even much wider than that. I could run much wider rear tires on it. It doesn't necessarily need that right now. And with 15s, I don't think you are going to get much more than that 225 back there. Anyway, tire tech in the 80s, we'll say that's good. We'll play with that for now. But thank you, Squid, for that information. You know, nothing like trying to figure everything out in the middle of recording. I was doing something with suspension. All right, I was trying to give it a little bit more front grip, and I think I did pretty good with that. We could do more front spring in it too, but it's just not necessary at this point. The thing is hooked up. Let's see what it's doing as of right now in the stats. You know, 10 miles per gallon, that's not as bad as I expected. It's probably still better than some of the muscle cars of the era. Let's see. Design-wise, I guess this isn't super important. What is super important is what it does here. Yeah, that's pretty freaking impressive. 5.7 to 60 and a 164 mile an hour top speed. That kind of stuff wouldn't be as important in actual rally terms, but would be quite the car to own for the street. 13.6 in the quarter. This is a very fast automobile. I want to run around the airfield track. I might not be done with it, but I'm antsy and I want to see it. Turbo lag. Well, that was fun. Did you hear it, like, try to get away from him, too? Now, this, to me, is just an absolutely fun-based vehicle. High horsepower, small tires, all-wheel drive, so you can just power out of the turns, but it's going to be sliding around and all over the place. This is the kind of vehicle that would definitely kill you and would never exist in modern times. But this is the era to do it, so we're going to do it. Time is a 121.6 on the airfield test track. If you want to compare that to any other times that may be in real-world tracks that may exist that are similar to this, I don't know what you're talking about. Markets. Does it have a market? It does. Track Premium and Track. Yeah, that's right where it should be, no? I would say that's pretty much the market we were aiming for, and it does quite well in them. You know, I don't think there's really too much else I want to do with this thing. It's exactly what I wanted. It is an insane automobile built on the platform of a normal automobile that would be completely unexpected on the street. That's how I would define Group B. That was the era of car that it was. These were not obtainable cars. This would be extremely expensive to build and produce. And we'd only build, 400, 500 of them, however many you had to build. But what a car to own it would be. And what an era of race car, too. Of pure excess. And excess usually makes for really cool cars. Alright, well that's going to do it for today in Automation. Thank you all for watching and continuing to be enthusiastic about this series. I hope you all are enjoying, and I look forward to continuing on, and I will see you next time.